Welcome to English Grammar Spot. This lesson is about the passive voice. In this lesson, I'm going to show you when to use a passive and how to form a passive. So we're going to do it the other way round. I'm going to show you how to form a passive for every tense in the English language. Take a look at the following sentences. I have closed the door and the door has been closed by me. The first sentence is an active sentence. The second sentence is a passive sentence. Now usually we turn active sentences into passive sentences. So what we do is the object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive sentence, and the subject of the active sentence becomes the object of the passive sentence. So I has become me and the door has become the subject of the passive sentence. Now, when do we use a passive? I'm going to tell you some technicalities. Be not alarmed, the passive is not hard, but there are some things that you need to know. We use a passive when the subject of the verb, so in the example before, is more important than the person or thing carrying it out, the object. So in the example before, the door was more important than me closing it. The object of the passive form is usually left out because it's not important, or as in my example, it's preceded by the word by. When we want to change an active sentence into a passive, as I already said, the object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive sentence. The passive always needs to contain a form of the auxiliary verb to be and a past participle. Remember, the English language has regular and irregular verbs. So for the regular verbs, a past participle is made by adding ed to the base form of the verb, or we use its own unique form. So for instance, take, took, taken, that would be a past participle taken. Now the auxiliary verb takes the tense of the verb in the active sentence. So when we change an active sentence into a passive, we need to put the verb to be in the tense of the active sentence. The main verb in the active sentence is turned into a past participle. Now I don't hope that your head is spinning because it's really quite easy. I'll show you. So we're going to turn an active present simple into a passive present simple. She buys tomatoes. Now remember, we're going to swap she and tomatoes around. So we're going to start with tomatoes. A passive is made by the verb to be and the past participle. So we need to pick the correct form of the verb to be for tomatoes, which is are here. So tomatoes are bought by her. Remember, buy, bought, bought. Another example, the present continuous. An active present continuous is they are taking down the police station. Now for the passive form, we need to maintain that continuous form, and that is quite hard. So we need either to use am, are, is, and then the continuous form, being, and the past participle. Don't forget to put in being into a continuous passive when your active sentence was a present continuous. You have to maintain that. You can't swap tenses. The police station is being taken down. So please note that we've put the police station into the slot of the subject in the passive sentence. And it's not important by whom. So the police station is being taken down. So again, don't forget to put in being. Now let's have a look at a present perfect. An active present perfect is I have painted the door. So we're going to change into the present perfect passive. Remember, the door has to become the subject. So a passive is made, have or has, and then a form of to be. And since it's a perfect here, we need to use the perfect form of the verb to be. So here it is been, and a past participle of the verb to paint. The door has been painted. So pay attention that in the active form it was I have, but since in the passive form the door has become third person singular, we need to use has. The past tenses. First, the past simple. Active. They sold the car yesterday. Remember, just as in the present simple, we need to use a form of to be, so was or were, and the past participle. The car was sold yesterday. A past continuous. An active sentence. They were cleaning the house. So, to make it into a passive, we'll put the house, the subject of the passive form, a passive sentence. Remember, don't forget to put in being. Passive, was or were plus being and the past participle. The house was being cleaned. It was done by them, but that's not important. The past perfect. The active past perfect. They had given him a job, and the passive we use had plus been, just as in the present perfect, and a past participle to give, gave, given. He had been given a job. Now I'm going to take you through the future tenses. In the simple future, he will give you his number. For the passive, we use will, and then the infinitive form of the verb to be, so the base form, and the past participle. You will be given his number. The past future. He assured me he would post the letter. That's a past future. For the passive, we use would, be, and a past participle. He assured me that the letter would be posted. And for the future perfect, we will have put up the tent before you get back. And the passive will plus have been plus the past participle. Remember, it's a perfect, so we need to use been. The tent will have been put up before you get back. So that were all the tenses. Remember, use a form of to be and use the past participle. Finally, the modals. Can, could, should, might, must, may, etc. Quite easy. An active example. She can help you with your homework. Can is a modal here. To turn it into a passive, we use can, the base form of the verb to be, which is be, and the past participle. You can be helped with your homework. Now, in the English language, we do not only have objects. There's also such a thing as an indirect object. I'll show you an active example. They gave me the letter. They is a subject and the letter is an object, the direct object. But me here is an indirect object. So what do you do when you need to change an active sentence into a passive, but it contains both an object, the letter, and me, the indirect object? For the direct object, the letter was given to me. Quite straightforward. But then, for the indirect object, I was given the letter. So please note that the me has changed into I, because you cannot say me was given the letter. So both options here. We also have such a thing as a prepositional object. Somebody must deal with the problem. So with the problem is what we call a prepositional object. To make it into a passive, we do the following. The problem must be dealt with. So remember, must here is a modal. We add be and then the past participle form of deal, which is dealt. Yeah, so the problem must be dealt with, and then we put the preposition at the end of the sentence. Let's have a look at passives and subclauses. He suggested that we should leave at once. That we should leave at once is a subclause. Now, subclause is a piece of a sentence, but that cannot exist on its own. So if we would change it, we would say that we should leave at once was suggested. But that's a bit weird. So what we do here, we use it. Now remember, it does not occur in the active sentence, but because that which we should leave at once was suggested is a bit strange, we just simply make use of it. It was suggested that we should leave at once. I thank you for your attention. For regular updates, please subscribe to youtube.com/EnglishGrammarSpot or go to www.englishgrammarspot.com.